Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue where we left off. Okay, so we're doing the flash message thing here. One thing I noticed is here we have to use the get instead of set, so change that over here. Okay, so we get that flash, but then if we are to delete, if delete is equal to true, then we have to check right here. So I'm gonna say if delete, then what we need to do is unset the data. So what I'm gonna do here is let's do this session remove, and then let's do that same key. So it's flash, so remove flash. But if we remove the flash, we can't then get it from here later. So what I'm gonna do is grab this, and instead of that, I'm just gonna say message here, MSG, and what I'll do is get the message before I delete it. All right, so that should do the trick. Now there's a new feature in PHP called named arguments, where you can actually name the argument. So for example, like I have all these optional arguments, even though they are not optional or not, and I don't know the order that they come in. For example, there's message here, there's mode, and then there's delete. So what I could do is just set the ones I want and ignore the others using named arguments. So we're going to try that. I've never tried it myself, but I think I understand what it is. So we're going to try and see if it works. So bear with me if it doesn't. Excuse me. All right, so let's go back and see how we can use all of this. Okay, and by the way, I just noticed something in the database class. We're gonna edit a few things in the database class a bit later, but for now I think this is fine. Also, there's one more validator that we need to do, which is unique. So if I go to sign up here, for example, the email address is supposed to be unique, right? So it's required and it's an email, but also it's supposed to be unique. So I'm going to add that there so I don't forget. We should add a function to deal with that, and we're going to do that. But it's okay to put it there because it's going to simply be ignored if the function cannot be found. Okay, so let's once again go back to the index page. And let's go to the sign up page. Actually, before we do that, let's use the new code. So I'm gonna go to my this is the sign up page. Right when we get here, we should save a flash message. So here I'm gonna say flash message, and in that flash message we're gonna say sign up complete. Please log in to continue. And I want to specify, this is the message. I want to specify the what's this? The mode, right? So the mode is success. There we go. Now, named arguments, we can do this instead. We can say MSG like that, okay? That becomes a named argument, so it knows this one is message and this one is mode. So, which means I could start with mode like this and say success. Theoretically speaking, so I'm just testing this to see if it actually works. Like I said, I haven't tested it myself, so I'm just hoping that it's gonna work. what is this supposed to be? Mode success. Okay, so this is the name of the argument that I'm trying to. If you look at the where is this, functions, right? Flash message contains these arguments in this order: message, the mode, and then whether we delete it or not. So instead of following this, I want to see if named arguments work by just starting with this one and then going with that, just to see if I can get this working. So, all right, so let's see, let's give it a shot. Let's see. Now, since the unique feature isn't working, it will actually record true of these. So that's fine for now. Since we're just testing, we can save true of those. So I'm going to go back to the sign up page and let's do the same. John Doe. And let's do the email address. email@email.com. The country, literally doesn't matter. Let's just do male, female, whatever. Let's just put some date and then password here. Let's repeat that password and agree to the terms and then sign up. Now, on the before I do this, let me grab this flash message here, right? Let me copy that. Actually, there's some kind of a flaw here. You see, when we are saving the message, that's when we determine whether it's a success or info or whatever. So we need to save that information as well. So I just realized we're not saving that. So let me come here. When we set the flash message, we should also set the flash type or flash mode. I'm gonna call it that, flash mode, like this, and then let's save the mode. Okay, so if we are deleting this, actually deleting the flash mode doesn't really help, so let's set that. And then coming here, we're gonna have to get it from here, from flash mode. So I'm gonna copy that and let me put it here instead of this mode here. So get flash mode, like that. Okay, so that we don't have to set it the second time. All right, so with this, let me go to the login page here. So there's flash message and I don't supply anything, meaning that it's going to return and show me any of those flash messages that are available. Okay, great. Let's go back and let's give it a shot. Fingers crossed. Let's save. So unfortunately, we have a syntax error. Unexpected identifier session start on line 15. Really? Okay, let's go to the session.php, line 15. What is it talking about? This is weird. Okay. Oh, session ID, if not empty, then session start. Okay, so if it's a syntax error, it shouldn't be that hard to. Unexpected identifier session start. This is weird. Right here. Okay, just to be sure, let me just put those quotes around. Just to be sure we're not... oh, I think there's a... Okay, there's a missing bracket there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's give it another shot. So refresh and resend. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? Setup, sign up complete. Please log in to continue. Things worked as intended. All right, that's always a happy moment when things work after typing so much code. Okay, so now that things are working, let's deal with the sign up page here. So including the named arguments, seems that they work as well. So congrats to the, I really love that feature. It makes coding much easier. All right, so with this working, let's deal with the login page. So the login page here, actually, before we do that, let's fix the unique thing here, because now look, if we go to the database, we have 3 records that are exactly of the same person, because this is the same email. So we have to make sure that this email is always unique. Now this may be as simple as just reading from the database and checking to see if it exists, but there is a little bit of a wrinkle in this system here. So like when you're signing up, for example, there's no problem. You can just check to see if the email is unique, because obviously there shouldn't be anyone with that email. But imagine when you're editing the record, the email is already in the database, your email is already there. So maybe you're editing the last name, you're editing your last name. So when you try to save, and because there's a unique feature for the email, it's going to try to search and find your email in the database and fail to save your record, because it will say that email already exists, which is true. It already does exist. So we need to find a way that when we're signing up, we just check to see if there's a duplicate. But then when we're editing, we should check for a duplicate, but ignore your own record. So that's something to keep in mind. So let's see how we can achieve that. Now let me go to the validator, because we need to add one more function down here that represents uniqueness. So I'm going to just duplicate the very last one here, Control Shift D. Now this one is validate unique. Let's change it to that. All right. So we have all these things here, and there's a value, there's a field name. So what we need to do, let me come over here first. So on the validator here, I can add another public variable called primary key. Now this one should default to ID, because normally our primary key is always ID. Okay. Now this could be different. People would add different column names here, so you just have to set it. You don't have to set it inside the validator here, though if that's a common feature on your what's this, on your tables, maybe you put ID like this instead. So you can change that to suit that, but you don't have to change it in here. You can change it before doing a validation. Like we're going to sign up here, what you can do is when you're instantiating the validator, immediately after you can just say val, and then you say something like primary key is equal to, and then you set whatever the primary key is, and that way it's going to update that instance. Okay, so we don't need to do that because our tables have that as ID as primary key for now, so that's all good. However, we need to use this primary key in order to fix some issues here. So since this extends the database class, it does extend that, so we can use functions directly from the database. So here what I can do is just put an if statement. Say something like, what does it return actually? So let's just say row is equal to, right? And then we say this. Then we can run the query function. So this one will contain the SQL string and then the data. So in here, I want to say email because that's the, oh, actually, this is the field name. So what I'm going to do is, let's forget the primary key for now. Let's just say this field here, the value, the field name is the key. So what I'm going to do is say field. Okay. And I don't know how this will work because the field, let's see here for a second. Errors. Bear with me here. Value. That's the one right there. Okay. Now, I've never actually tried this before, the key, like so. But let's see if it's gonna work. So we are creating an array here where this field, for example, is, let's say, email is equal to, and then this is the actual email, and then that should be part of the query string. So what we can do, let me go here. Let's create the SQL. So here we're going to say select. We don't need to select everything, but maybe we should because we don't know what columns are in the table. So select even just a count, maybe that will do. Just how many records, because there shouldn't be one. So let's do select count instead of bringing back actual data from. And this is the, oh, we need to know the table as well. This becomes interesting here. I had completely forgotten about the table. We need to know what table we are reading from, right? So when validating, okay, so let's go here then. Let me go to, since we have an extra field here called param, right? We can use that. So let me go back to my sign up here. Instead of just saying unique, we can do what we've been doing with this to send a param, just like we did with max 30. We can just say unique and the table name there instead. So it's unique in which table? So users, something like that. So that's unique in the users table. And we already have the name of the column and the name of the table now. So if I now go back to validator, this one will be param where, okay, and then the field, so where the field is equal to value, like that. Okay, so that makes things easier from what I was thinking here. So here I just need to say value instead. Okay, great. So where field name, so in the case of email, this is going to be email. So where email is equal to the value, which is this one here, and then let's just say limit 1, because we just need one of those results if uniqueness is to be followed. And that's really it, actually. So if the result is positive, then we have a problem. So here I'm going to say if not empty, row, like that, then we have an error now. So we're going to leave that as is. Should not contain spaces. No. This one should be let's see, that input name must be unique. Something like that. Okay, great. Or you could say something like is already in use, or something to that effect. So let's check that out. Let's see if that actually works. So let's go back to our sign up page. I'm gonna go to sign up here, and let's just write a few things here. Don't really care about this. What I really care about is the email at email.com, and then choose any country, choose any date. Let's leave that at mail. We should probably excuse me here. Let's change this a little bit. Bear with me here. There's this gender thingy. Let's put the first option like that. Put value empty, like so. Okay, great. That way it starts out excuse me, it starts out empty. And let's do password, because people may forget to edit this. So let's agree to that. We don't need to agree, so that it doesn't actually save. I can get to two errors. Oh, so there we go. So go to member function prepare or no. Okay, so we know what that does. If prepare is being centered on no, it means the parent is not being constructed. So let's just do this. So in the validator here, because we're extending database, I want it to run the constructor of the parent so that it creates that connection in case it isn't there. So let's see if we get rid of this error. Okay, and yep, that error was gotten rid of. So let's let me do email 2 here so I see if it disappears, but I'll leave this accept thing so that we don't actually submit. And let's see here. Okay, so something is definitely wrong, because this is unique. So let's get back here. Let me see. Maybe it did save. It didn't. Okay, so email must be unique. Is still running there. So let's see what's going on. So let's go to the validator. And here I want to see the result that was created. First of all, let me echo out the query, the SQL, like that. And then let me echo out the result here. And then let's just die over there. Okay. So let me try this again. And this is what we get. So it's select count from users. Oh, I forgot that I used count here. So what I'm supposed to actually check for is the count. So this is my fault. Let's do this. So we're going to say select count as number or num, or let's say total, whatever word you want to use as an alias. So there's going to be a column. Normally, if I don't do this as total here, there's going to be a column named count bracket just with this name. So I don't like that. What I want is to have a column that's named total instead. So count star will be named as total. That way, then I can check to see if row, actually this always returns multiple. Wait a sec. Let's go back here. So this was the result. PDO object. Oh, I see. It returned a PDO object. So what we need to do is fetch something like that. Not fetch all, but just fetch. and then raw will be equal to that. So let me see here. So we're supposed to return a raw. So I'm going to say dd raw, just so we can see what's being returned. I expect it to be an object with the column name Toto in there. So let's refresh and see what that does. Oh wait, I forgot the die. Okay, so there it is. Toto is 0, which is great. But if the email is not unique like that, the Toto should be 1. Let's see if that works. Oh, actually there are 3 records, so it's 3. So here, all we need to do is check if row, wait, is this an object? Yeah, it's an array. What? This should be an object. What is going on? Okay, hold up. Let me go to the database class here. In the query function, we return the statement, and then fetch returns supposed to return an object. Oh, this is a different fetch. Right. You know what? I should have used this function here. So let's change that, actually. Instead of query, let's use fetch, so that I don't have to put anything else here. Let me remove this fetch at the end. Let's use that instead. I want it to return an object, so let me resend this. Yeah, like that. Okay, great. So with that result, let's do total. If that is greater than 0, then we have a problem. Okay, good. So let's come back here and let's resend the data. Let's see if we get that error. Let me zoom out again. Okay, so that must be unique. So let's add a 2 there and see if things will change. And there we go. It's no longer giving us that error. Okay, good. So now that we have all this, let's truncate the table. So I'm going to go to operations here. And let's do truncate, which is delete everything and reset the ID to 1. And let's go to browse again. And there it is. It's empty. So let's sign up one more time. Put that at 100%. Open up that. And let's go back to being John Doe. And then email address. And then let's select a country. My actual country is this one here. And then let's go to gender. And then let's put a date of birth. I'm quite old at this point. Not very old, but let me just select a date here. And let's put 1986. Okay, so password. Let's see, I agree, and let's add that. Oh yeah, sign up complete. Please log in to continue. Great. Now let's check in here. And there we go. Look at that. Now we're going to have a problem when editing, like I had said earlier. So we need to figure out that uniqueness without dealing with the primary key. So what we need to do is check to see if inside the the data field here, because all data is saved in here in the data variable. That's all data from the post variable. Literally, this is what it is. Now, in order to avoid that problem of editing, we need to check if the primary key exists inside data here. If it does exist, then let's use it to leave out that particular record when checking for uniqueness, right? So what I'm going to do is check what the primary key is and check if it exists in here. So I'm going to go down to that uniqueness part here. This may not sound like a problem now, but it is. If you try to edit a record, you're going to have problems because everyone will be told that email already exists, and you don't want that. So let's check first of all if so we're going to put an if statement and say if not empty, okay, inside data, which is this data, and then this primary key, like that. So if that primary key exists, so in this case it's going to be something, let's say it's email, right? It's going to be if data email exists or data ID exists, then we use the primary key as part of the equation. However, if it does not exist, let's not use it. So at this point, I would need either this or the other. So let me duplicate that. That was a terrible attempt to duplicate. Let me just copy and paste. Okay, great. So if the primary key is not empty, then let's use that as well. So this is the name of the primary key, and this is the data in the primary key. Okay, so I'm going to grab this. Let me copy that. So that's the data in the primary key. So here I'm going to put it in here. So the first thing I'll do is say, what is the primary key? Is it ID or something like that? So here I'm just going to save it as key and then say is equal to, then I'll put that value there like so. Okay, so for example, if there's an ID in the data thing, it's going to be data ID, and then it will give us the value, the actual value of that ID. Maybe it's 10, 20, and so on. So it's going to be key is equal to 10, something like that. But in the query, we're going to say and, right? And then we will put the name of that primary key, whether it's ID, it's email. So I'm going to paste that. No, that's too much. It's supposed to be this, and then primary key, like so, is not equal to. So we're going to use the not equal to, and then key, like that, whatever that key is, which is this one right now. Okay, so when the time comes and we test this, it should tell us that it's not unique. Actually, we can test it right now. If I try to, for example, let me go back to the sign up page. If I try to log in with email@email.com, I will get that error that email must be unique. Okay, but if I add my ID, then it will eliminate that. So let me go to my sign up here, and right about here, right, I can say something like inside the post variable, before I supply it to this, I can add an ID there and just say post ID is equal to 1, like that. So let's pretend that I'm editing a record and its ID is 1 of that record. So when I'm checking to validate if the email is unique, I should ignore record number 1. So let's see if that happens just by putting that ID up in there. So let me go here, and so currently it was saying this is not unique. So let's see if I try again now, and you see that error disappears, which means now I can safely edit my record without worrying about being flagged there. So it's working as intended. If I remove this part here, it will come back to tell me that my thing should be unique. So let me click that again, and there we go. Okay, great. So now we're going to the login page. Let's do some logging in. Now, this isn't supposed to show all the time because now it's showing all the time. So that is a problem. So let me go to my login page here. Okay. So I'm supposed to tell it to delete this thing once it's done. So once you show the flash message, delete it. So I can use, normally what I would need to do is in the old PHP, I would need to supply an empty message here, right? And then supply maybe success or whatever it is here, because that's also an optional value, just to get to the value at the end, because this is the one that I really want, the delete. I have to put true there. Now I can't put true there if I can even do this though. I can't put true if I have to, without putting these two, because this is the third parameter. Now with the new PHP, you can easily tell it that I'm targeting just the delete name and then do that. And this is going to work just fine. Okay, great. So let's try this. It should show me that message one more time. And then after that, I shouldn't be able to see it again. So let me imagine this is when we've been redirected to the login page the first time. And it's going to show me that message. Great. But then the next time I come to login, I shouldn't see it. And there we go. I don't see that message anymore. But even with the empty message, I still get that box, which is totally not cool. So let's see what's going on here. If I go to functions here. Oh, and that's the thing right there. I should actually check to see if a flash message exists. Okay, before even doing any of this, actually no, I should check all of this. If message is empty, and come here. Now, before I do any of this, I should actually check to see if there is a flash message, right? Wait a minute. Yes, so let me do an if statement. If empty the message, then return. Now we can return just an empty string like that, because we expect that. Okay. Or we can return false, whichever it is. All right, so let's see if that sorts out the problem. Okay, so the problem is gone. There we go. Cool, guys. Okay, so in the next video, let's do an actual login.